Injuries happen in football. It's just the name of the game. But when a ton of them occur and the news doesn't break until after salaries have been released, well, you get the Week 5 main slate. You're watching The Perfect Lineup, where Josh Engleman and myself, Dave Loughran, try and build a beautiful lineup, take down a tournament for the main slate this Sunday. Of course, I'll build 3 of them. I'll build the bones, the foundation, the core, and Josh will take them to the single lineup sim and see how they look. Of course, I don't know how they will look. They might be great, they might be bad, but at least this will give us an idea of whether or not we are on the right path heading into 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And of course, if you guys love this content, you think it's maybe helped you along the way, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that hype button if it's down there. Apparently, it's supposed to help smaller creators, and you guys can do that for us. It's much appreciated. And what we'll do for you, every single week, we give away a free month of Sims Max NFL. All you got to do is guess who is going to be the highest overall DraftKings point scorer this week on a 10-game main slate. Only 2 people, as Josh will point out, got it right last week, so we'll spin the wheel later, but let's get into it. All right, lineup number 1. I'll lay the foundation. Josh will run the sims. Look, if you thought week 1 and 2 pricing was soft, nothing compares to week 5. It's true. You had Tyreek Hill get hurt on Monday Night Football. Salaries were already out. Bucky Irving is now out. Chuba Hubbard's looking like he's not going to play. Oh, Trey Benson is on the IR. Brock Bowers might sit. And in general, pricing is just soft from top to bottom anyway. Of course, Lamar Jackson's probably out as well, but you're not playing Cooper Rush. Anyway, earlier in the week, and I had tweeted this, I was thinking about how nice the savings would be on a Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson stack against a totally lifeless Cowboys defense. But now that's kind of less important, isn't it? Still, this is a stack I want to get to. And I think at the very least, we should all be messing around with some Jets builds just to see how they sim out, to see how they look. Because you have Fields with elite rushing upside. You have Garrett Wilson, who, I mean, one of my favorite players. This guy's an absolute freak. The Cowboys may emphasize defending him, but I'm not sure it's going to make a difference. Just start throwing this guy 50-50 balls, and he's going to catch most of them, far more than 50%. Meanwhile, in the Jets' backfield, Braylon Allen is set to miss 8 to 12 weeks. Isaiah Davis will probably get a little bit of work, but this is Breece Hall's backfield, and you could see a lion's share of opportunities here. Oh, and also, he's got a 18% target share on the season. So he's already involved in the passing game. There's many ways a Fields plus Breece Hall plus Garrett Wilson stack can work. Now, I'm going to hold off on a run back to see what Josh gets in the sims, but I will add Nico Collins against a skeleton crew Ravens secondary and honestly pass rush as well. And Rachaad White with Bucky Irving being out on top of that. In 2023, when Bucky Irving was the lead back, he had a 13% target share, which is fine because he ran a route on 80% of quarterback dropbacks, and he's going to get a lot of work on the ground, even if if Tucker cuts into some of that. You're talking $4,700 here. This is kind of matchup proof in this spot. Rachaad White at $4,700 is going to be a good play in week 5.
Here we go, folks. First lineup up in the single lineup simulator. Loughy just set the table for us. Now we just got to cook the meal. Justin Fields in, Breece Hall in, Garrett Wilson in. We've got a bit of a jet stack. We also added in Rachaad White and Nico Collins. So we still need a wideout, a tight end, a flex, and a defense. We've got $21,200 left to fill everything else out, and we're going to make it very easy. I'm going to click complete this lineup. It's going to give me the 4 optimal plays for what we have left. We end up grabbing 2 Dolphins. We get Achane and we get Jalen Waddle. Trey McBride sneaks in at the tight end spot. We get the Saints D against the Giants, leaving $500 on the table. But now we have to evaluate this lineup. We're going to click Run Lineup Simulation and figure out just how good does it look. Hell of a start to the week. 99% sim ROI, a 0.2% chance to win, and a 50% cash rate. This looks like a really strong lineup. I'm really happy with where we started. Anxious to see what Loughy cooks up next. All right, here we go. We gotta find the winner from week 4. You had to get the highest score, and only 2 of you did that. It ended up being Puka Nacua. So if you're one of the two names that are on this wheel right now, it's spinning around. If it lands on you, take a screenshot when it does. Email support@stokastic.com. Claim your prize. And if you are, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even have a clue how to say this. It's Gengar 0x. I don't know, man. If that's you, email support@Stokastic. Claim your win.
All right, on to lineup number 2. And of course, if you guys want to access these tools for yourself, not just the single lineup sim, but the pre-contest sim, which saw 3 different users and Stokastic subs rocking the avatar take down $1 million last year. Oh, and 2 weeks ago, another one. Morgan took down $1 million and came in second the next week on DraftKings for $100K. Monster wins already this season, but it's not just for high stakes players. It's for low stakes, mid stakes players as well. Use the code PERFECT25 and get 25% off any monthly NFL sub. As a matter of fact, click the link in the description. It'll auto load that right in when you check out, and you don't have to do a thing. Perfect25, 25% off all of the NFL tools for the entirety of the month. All right, you guys may not love this one, but I kind of like it. And why would we do this video if I was just going to feed you chalk every single week and then have Josh run the Sims for a chalky lineup every single week? It's not fun. And at the end of the day, you guys make your own decisions, and so do I. I'm going to go with the smaller starter build for this. Just 3. And I want to see how it plays out in the Sims with 10% randomness. I think there's value in Carolina this week, believe it or not. This game in general, right? And here's why. Well, because pricing is so soft, I've kind of backed off my Bryce Young takes earlier in the week, because how much Bryce Young do you really need to get to at 4,700 when everybody else is dirt cheap as well? Instead, I want to try a core with Teteroa McMillan and Rico Dowdle now that Chuba Hubbard is not likely to play. If you do that, of course, and we will run it back with Devon Achane, who is a phenomenal play this week and should see even more work with Tyreek Hill absent. It might not feel like it, but the Dolphins defense was gutted by the Jets for over 400 yards last week. It was New York's self-inflicted injuries, 13 penalties for over 100 yards, 3 lost fumbles in that game. That's what cost them the win. Not Miami's defense, not their inability to move the football against an inept secondary and a porous run defense. We've seen it. So considering Dowdle is $4,300, Teteroa McMillan is $5,700, that means what? $10,000 combined? And Dowdle was already eating into Chuba Hubbard's workload prior to him, being injured. Maybe it was because he was dealing with an injury that did hold him out of some practices last week. But besides the point, it doesn't matter. McMillan has a 25% target share on the year as well. He's the clear number 1 in Carolina. So you're getting an RB1 and a wide receiver 1 on the same team in a good matchup, despite the ineptitude at times of this Carolina offense. You're getting them for 10,000 flat. Now, the Achane play needs no explanation here, but I'll give you one because that's my job. This game actually has a 45.5 point total. It's not bad. Tyreek Hill's done for the year, and Achane is going to continue to get big work both on the ground and through the air. It's a great run back spot. I wouldn't even hate going with Jalen Waddle as well as Achane and a 2-2 with no quarterbacks in this game. Sounds crazy? Maybe it isn't.
Now, this is going to be a very different build, completely different than I think anything we've done so far after putting these lineups out for the first few weeks. We've got Rico Dowdle in. We've got Devon Achane in, thanks to Loughy. Those 2 guys are in at the 2 running back spots. We had McMillan in at wideout. So we've got 2 Carolina guys, but that's it. So we don't know who that quarterback is going to be. Normally, we've locked that quarterback spot in. This time, it's just going to get spit out when we take the optimal. Loughy also wants us to set it to 10% randomness, so we're going to do that. You saw me do it on the screen if you ever wanted to know how it works. So now it's not straight optimal. There's a little bit of wiggle to projections. I'm curious, what will we end up with in the rest of this lineup? I have absolutely no idea how this is going to grade out, and don't overreact to what you see here for Rico Dowdle. The projections are right in the back end. They don't display correctly here because I had to make sure that he was in. That's besides the point. Justin Fields, take him straight from the first lineup, pop him in here. Naked Justin Fields. I think there's a path for that one. We get Jackson Smith and Jigba. We get Cortland Sutton. McBride shows up once again. White back in this one. Lions D. We spent all of our salary, but what in the world will this lineup look like? Pretty much exactly what I was expecting. The lack of correlation here stands out, and that's just something that you need to be aware of when you click that complete this lineup button, because in this scenario, we're not as correlated as we really want to be. Yeah, do we have that piece of Achane, McMillan, and Dottle? We do, but in my mind, I would want to take Justin Fields out and get a little bit more correlation to that game, whether I'm going on the Miami side or the Carolina side. They're not all gonna be winners, folks. Sometimes you try to put the pieces together and you end up getting a negative 15% sim ROI, but you are in luck. I think we have one more to go. I'll let Loughy do the talking.
All right, for our third and final lineup, we were going with a minimalist build here. This is where Josh and the Sims will have to do the majority of the work, and I want to go with a contrarian build. Remember, we post another contrarian build I do over on Tails, exclusively to Tails, the perfect lineup, Tails exclusive every single week. We started it 2 weeks ago, put up 187 DraftKings points. Not bad. Last week, the Michael Penix stack with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, 175. Any other week, that would have been a fantastic lineup, but it didn't have Hampton or Genty. But we are on the right track. We're building good contrarian builds that are getting lowish ownership, and eventually that's going to take us to the promised land. So click the link down there. Follow me, follow Josh. It's free, 100%. You don't pay a cent. All of my bets all year long, and Josh's heading into NBA, 100% free. And all of the DFS builds that we throw up there exclusively to Tails are yours for the taking without anything outside of signing up and creating a free account. Now let's get to a contrarian build here that I'm a little surprised by it. Maybe I'm not, because the wide receiver is going to be popular. The quarterback won't. I actually want to go Stroud against the Ravens defense that is absolutely hemorrhaging players right now. Nnamdi Madubuike is on the IR. Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith are both doubtful. They're still not practicing as of Friday. Kyle Hamilton didn't practice either, so it looks like he could be out. And you have 4 other starters, including one that had 10 sacks last season, also questionable, and one of them also not practicing. I mean, it's not good. This pass rush and secondary could be fully neutered this week. Now, I wouldn't put it past John Harbaugh for them to just get up for this game, similar to what we saw with the San Francisco 49ers. Everyone, counts them out, leaves them for dead, and then they end up getting that huge win in LA against the divisional opponent and move to 4-1 while the Rams drop to 3-2. So I get that. Don't think I don't. However, I want to take at least a couple shots here in single lineup spots. And I think what I want to do, believe it or not, is go to a Stroud skinny stack. Now, normally this wouldn't seem ideal or optimal, given that Stroud only runs when he needs to. He's not a legitimate dual threat like a Justin Fields or a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson. However, the pricing is so soft on this slate that I don't find the need to force in doubles and triples if I don't have to. So instead, we'll pair Nico Collins with Stroud, and I'm not going to touch anything else. I'm honestly fine with whatever pops up when Josh runs the Sims, because we have no real limitations as far as salary is concerned. Now, I know I've mentioned it a couple times before, how broken the Texans' offense has looked, and that's not untrue, although maybe they got off the schneid last week against the Titans. But the Ravens' defense is in an equal amount of pieces right now. So if Stroud is only going to be 2 or 3% owned, where we have him projected right now, I will happily roll the dice.
Before we get to the final lineup, I want to remind you guys, you should be following myself and Loughy and plenty of the other Stokastic guys over on Tails, because we're giving out a ton of additional information. There's a free picks feed. You can see it all. Loughy and I are going to be putting up another Tails exclusive perfect lineup, so you guys don't want to miss it. Links in the description if you want to follow along, but you're going to get an extra lineup. It's just not going to be at the end of this video. So Loughy's giving us CJ Stroud and Nico Collins, and then the floor is ours. But I like this starting point for one very specific reason. CJ Stroud's not all that owned, just 3% at a quarterback. That is insignificant. So we are going to be pretty naturally unique just by the way we're starting here. I'm going to keep the 10% randomness, and we're going to find out what we get in the rest of this one. I was hoping a little more correlation might sneak into this. This could be ripe for an opportunity to swap one guy out individually, but we've got Achane again. Genty pops up here, AJ Brown, Chris Olave, Trey McBride for the third time. This dude is everywhere. Rachaad White and the Saints D. I'm pretty happy with this one. My guess, it's in that like 60 to 70 range, very similar to the first one, much better than the second. Turns out I was knocking right on the door of the first one. 97.8 sim ROI, 0.3% chance to win. Much lower cash rate here at 38%. If you remember, the first lineup was at like 50. That is almost solely happening because of CJ Stroud. When it wins, the lineup's great, but you're going to cash less frequently because he's just not as owned as frequently. You have to beat that cash. So that makes perfect sense to me. We ended up getting 2 excellent lineups to start off the week. Plenty of updates coming over the weekend, plenty of live shows on Sunday. But whether it's the first lineup, the third lineup, or the tails lineup, it's going to be a perfect lineup.